Good morning and welcome to the AEOREMA Communications PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll, and I'd now like to hand you over to Steve Quah, CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning and welcome and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to take you through our investor presentation. So I'm just going to frame it. So I'm assuming that some of you guys know us quite well. Some of you might know us a little bit, and some of you might know us not at all. So a little bit of a general overview around AEOREMA Communications and our setup. Talk a bit more about the brands we operate within the business, show you some of our work. Thinking about the future, and have a Q&A session at the end, which I look forward to your questions. And please start firing them away. A little disclaimer slide, so let's get on from the legalities. So who are we? So AEOREMA Communications PLC. Pleased to say we are a multi-award winning, purpose-led, which is very important, strategic marketing communications group. Delighted to say we have offices in London, New York and Amsterdam, over 65 full-time employees today, and a very strong senior management team with over 60 years kind of running the business. A picture of me. So a little bit about myself. I'm proud to be the CEO and kind of took over the reins in that formal role about 6 years ago. I'm also a founder and director of Triple 21st, 30 plus years in the business. I actually started my first agency at 21. And ever since then, that's what I've been doing, leading and driving creative agencies. No doubt helped by the fact my training is actually as a creative and is a big driving force behind the creative ethos within the group. Needless to say, I continue to work with a plethora of blue chip brands and continue to do that with a huge amount of experience there. So a little snapshot, and I've been told by my mayors and colleagues that we're a bit of a secret in the AIM world. So, you know, we are profitable, a record year again this year, back on the back of another record year. Growth, again, a record year this year. Cash generative and cash positive, we are sitting on 2.4 million cash. We pay dividends and we will continue to pay that going forward and probably increase that policy. As I say, highly experienced team, market leading, very respected, and become a bit of a noise in our industry as an agency to watch. They're no less reflected by the fact that we have won sleevefuls of awards more recently, and I'll take you through some of those later on. And also, importantly, we are leading by being a commitment to net zero by 2030. So those are us, and in the AIM world, I think some of those things are quite unusual, as in we're paying money, we're making cash, and we're growing. So moving on. What is our vision? A very top level kind of view about our vision going forward. So the core strategy is to continue our growth and strengthen our position as a leading, fully integrated brand experience agency with offices in key markets, and I'll give you more color to that later on. Culture strategy, which is really key because we are a people business. We thrive by the talent in my firm, and obviously attracting the best talent is very key to that. So to be the creative agency of choice for a diverse, eclectic mix of talent across EMEA and the United States. And our commercial growth. What is our strategy going forward? I'm sure we're going to have questions about that, but please take this view. We are successful and continue to be successful that we are retaining and growing our clients by being strategic, consultative and growing relationships, i.e. beyond one project, multiple projects over multiple years with a long-term relationship. And that's key to us driving forward. That also needs investment to continue that momentum. A little ticker tape. So noted when I became CEO is when it started going up. That's not just down to me, but here's a trend and long may that continue. Our share price today is around circa 80p. Our market cap is just under 8 million, which still makes us a very small cap business. And our year end was just finished. And obviously yesterday our trading update went out. I'm sure you've got questions about that, so please ask those later on. So I'm going to give you some sort of color and depth about what do we do and where's our pool where we work in. So this is our industry sector. Yeah, in the simplest form, it's live events, it's conferences, it's exhibitions, it's kind of brand experience. You hear a lot of marketing jargon, but I'll try and simplify it for you guys. So in the UK, we think our market sector is 42 billion in the US, and while there's a massive emphasis in the US, it's bigger, obviously, 103 billion. and globally 800 billion. So with our revenue just under 20 million, you see we're just scratching the surface of that. And excitingly, our research in America is that's predicted to be a 5-fold increase in the next 5 years, to be a 500 billion industry. And you're going to hear that word, the experience economy and the experience marketing piece is what we do. So let's give you a bit of color around the agencies that operate within the group. These are obviously our trade and brand names that's known outside of our investors. In our commercial world, we run 2 brands. Cheerful 21st is kind of the mothership and the bigger entity. It's our creative brand experience division, which kind of specializes in strategy, comms, production, digital, moving image film, and lots of other exciting things with offices in London, New York, and Amsterdam. Eventful is our beautifully formed boutique agency, specializing in a slightly more niche market, but again, under the same umbrella of live events, which is around venue sourcing, incentive travel, luxury high-touch events, event planning, strategic meetings, and is a perfect combination. It was actually our first acquisition, driven by, no doubt, we actually shared several clients before they joined us, and it's working very well. So what do we do? Again, trying to lose some of the marketing hyperbole is the fact we are a strategic, engaging, immersive experience communication agency. What does that mean? So dream client list on the right-hand side. We work with brands. There's a brand who wants to talk to an audience, and that piece in between is what we do. So they want to sell something or inform something or change a behavior or influence something, and they want to talk to this audience, we would do that. And the mechanics in between and the strategy around that revolves around insights, understanding, maybe writing the brief, consulting, then saying, what is the activation? A conference, an exhibition, a live experience, a brand activation. That's what we do. Then we follow up with measurement, and that's the circle we play in. And that's actually been key to our growth. We just don't build things. We think about it, we deliver it, we create it. And you see the dream list. Further out of that, with all these brands, we're a tier 1 procured agency, really supported by the fact we're AIM listed and very robust financially. So that's a massive benefit for us to kind of continue growing our client base. I'm going to show you some work and show you some videos because that's what we do. So here's a recent one, YouTube. I must say YouTube is one of our great clients. We used to do a lot of work within Google, so great brands to work with. YouTube Unboxed, going back to what I was saying, they're a brand, they want to talk to their buyers in advertising and marketing. And they actually wanted to come up with an experience that actually kind of shifted the needle for their perception, engaged with the audience, and we created what's called Unboxed, a 2-day conference, 400 attendees, total brand immersion. But I'll let the video play for itself, speak for us. Video, please. Thank you.
Welcome to YouTube Unboxed. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all here this morning.
It's going to be a sensory experience. We're going to move through 3 different rooms, all exploring a different part of YouTube.
We see this viewing fragmentation in our industry as a challenge, but this morning I want to reframe it as an opportunity.
YouTube's content and creators represent modern Britain.
Joel in, everybody.
3 million YouTube subscribers and over 2 billion views on YouTube.
Massive round of applause. Angela, join us.
YouTube is my favorite platform. You guys are doing an amazing job and make creators feel safe.
I'm very passionate about DEI. I'm very proud of YouTube as a platform and in terms of how diverse talent thrives.
YouTube was my first platform. This was the start of my creative journey. YouTube isn't just some platform to put your ad. It's a playground. It's a creative canvas that allow us to create ads that truly connect with people.
Thank you very much for joining us at Unboxed. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So again, just to say, actually Eventful found the venue. The most amazing immersive experience, screens, 4 ceilings. understanding the actual purpose of that. So we wrote the content, wrote the script, did the production, in-house video, produced it, ran it. Needless to say, a huge success, and they're planning to do multiple more activations. So moving on to our next activation, slightly different flavor, Wall Street Journal, different kind of brand, probably the most respected publication in the world globally, of the highest quality. We have actually worked with Wall Street Journal over several years now, built up an amazing relationship. We're now their approved global agency for activations, multiple activations in both North America and Europe. This is their CEO Council Summit, which they repeat probably twice a year. I'm going to run the video. This is a cannot fail, the highest quality experience with 250 of the top MDs and CEOs in the world together for 3.5 hours of experiential content that we produced. Please run the video, Ali. Thank you.
The Wall Street Journal is one of the most prestigious newspapers in the world. As their trusted agency partner, Cheerful 21st works alongside them to deliver compelling brand experiences across their events and communications, both in the US and in Europe. In May 2022, we partnered for the 4th time to produce the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit, an exclusive event series that brings together the world's most influential people to discuss the issues that matter. Hosted live from the Rosewood Hotel in London, the May Summit was the culmination of over a year of audience insight, creative development, and an extraordinary partnership built on trust, creativity, and seamless execution. The Wall Street Journal uses these events to reinforce their positioning as a connected, highly credible, and sophisticated news outlet. They understand that today's CEOs need an efficient and trusted forum to help them consider the most pressing issues of the day. Our hybrid format gave the CEO audience a choice in how they participated. Guests could join in person from the Rosewood or direct from their desks anywhere in the world. Alongside off-the-record breakout sessions to exchange learnings with trusted peers, our guests heard exclusive conversations between Wall Street Journal editors and renowned global guests. With immersive design and branding developed in our studio, the sophisticated members-only atmosphere provoked thought and promoted conversation. A table of curiosities tapped into haptic memory. Each item was linked to a plenary topic, sparking the interest of our guests and making the content unforgettable. The set design was critical to audience engagement. Both grand and intimate, the curved staging invited them into the discussion. Moving image was central to the experience. Created by our in-house team, we blended news and other footage in clever ways to provide powerful context for interviews. Our filmmakers worked closely with the Wall Street Journal news team, sometimes up to the wire, to keep up with the pace of the changing agenda, while our broadcast team made sure the audience at home had the best seats in the house. Our partnership with the Wall Street Journal is based on a shared vision, inspiring the world's most influential decision makers to tackle the planet's most pressing issues in a time of extraordinary change.
Thank you. Needless to say, this was actually broadcast live to 100 news stations, and actually, if you remember Elon Musk with his weird haircut, that was actually us broadcasting that out. And we just completed 2 more posts out, last one being in May this year. Again, success being part of our relationship with Wall Street Journal. You probably, the people who know us know about Cannes Lions, but let me explain to you one part of the business. This is not exclusively our whole part of the business, but a key part of the business, also a key opportunity for growth. So for those of you who don't know, Cannes Lions is a big advertising and marketing festival that's held in Cannes, the south of France. And we've actually had a presence there probably for the last 12 years, which we've steadily built up, culminating this year probably being our biggest presence ever. It's also known as the Oscars of the advertising world, where it's only the best can appear. If you win a Lion, it's going to be, recognised as you're an excellent expertise in your business. Brands and advertisers come together to meet, and then we help that meeting happen. We help that engagement piece happen. Excuse me. Most recently, we won a competitive tender for Stagwell Beach. I'm just going to have a glass of water. Excuse me for a second. Stagwell Beach was literally finished 3 or 4 weeks ago. This year, Stagwell, if you don't know, is actually one of the largest global marketing agencies. They wanted to go to Cannes, they wanted to make a noise, and they wanted to be seen as the best. If you do go to Lions, there are hundreds of brands shouting at you. And to cut through that is actually a skill and a challenge for any agency. But we did that. We created the best activation in Cannes. We didn't say that, our peers said that. Let's run the video, we'll talk about that. Thank you. Excuse me.
Ready right now, 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 ready right now.
Thank you. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. So as I said, it made such a big impact. Our client is super delighted, and we're planning for next year. Our pitch was sand to stadium. We built a sports stadium based around the sports team activation. It was actually successful beyond anyone's dreams, and cemented us actually as an agency to watch. And we are attracting other brands to kind of say, we want to work with these guys because they do the best work here. Following on from that, going back to our relationship with Wall Street Journal, and just to echo our multiple opportunities, we work with multiple brands in multiple locations. Wall Street Journal, at the same time, we did actually probably 14 activations for 8 major brands at Lions this year. This was built on the port, in the harbour. A different approach. This embodied Wall Street Journal's brand as a physical building. It's called Journal House. This is the 3rd year we've run it, and I'll run the video again, because it speaks for itself. This is actually from the point of view of one of our teams, so a different approach. So go ahead, Alex. Next one. Thank you.
Journal House is a premium event. It's where C-level execs come and mingle. When they enter into the building itself, they know they've entered into Journal House. The core intention is to bring their CMO network together. It's a place for them actually to meet decision makers, their peers, policy makers, and sometimes it's a chance for them to actually switch off and actually relax away from the madness of what is Cannes Lions. This year, Journal House hosted over 15 premium events throughout the week and was a space for guests to connect, host meetings or relax. Each morning kicked off with the Wall Street Journal newsroom-led interviews featuring leaders in the marketing and advertising world, including actor Ryan Reynolds, Peloton CMO Dara Tresder, and Google CMO Lorraine Toohill. Journal House is actually built on top of a viewing deck at the end of a pier in Cannes Port. That brings a lot of restrictions, a lot of access issues, weight loading issues, so lots of challenges to actually build there. Everything about Journal House is in the detail, and I mean every single element is looked at under a magnifying glass. Even from the way the flags are hung, the research that's done in the fact that we know that 75% of the time, at that time of year, the wind's going to blow in that direction, so therefore that's the way you put the flag. Through sun studies, we know exactly where the sun's coming into each part of the building, so do we need a blind there? Does a presenter need protection? So it is all down to that exact minute detail. As with any outdoor event, there are challenges with the weather, the rain, and how to deal with all these problems. But the way we actually designed it and the versatility of the space, it meant we could overcome all these challenges. What makes Journal House so special is the fact that you can see it from everywhere in Cannes. It is literally the beacon at the end of a pier. So really, it's just a massive branding opportunity, and it's a statement piece. Doing this, we actually built up an amazing relationship with Wall Street Journal. There was trust and true partnership. We actually could make decisions quicker, and end up with a pretty amazing product.
Thank you for that. Actually, I hope you saw some behind the scenes, and actually the expertise that goes into creating activation is extensive, and that's, beautiful talent in my firm, but also the experience of doing it and learning from that and continue to grow that. There's a picture of Kevin Hart. We have a lot of A-lists as well. We're quite expert in that too, which is quite fun. So, but what's the point here? So, again, trying to crystallize it for our investors to understand what the opportunity is. This is Cannes Lions is referred to as a tentpole event. Most brands have multiple tentpole events globally. At the moment, we're killing it in Cannes Lions by having a multiple activation, but brands do other tentpole events. For example, Barcelona Mobile World Congress, we're starting to do activations there. We wanted to go to the CES show in Vegas this year. We did 2 activations there in Las Vegas. Austin, South by Southwest, thinking about going, brands are asking us to go there. Hamburg, Cologne, and Cannes itself, Europe, there are massive exhibition hubs, which are just scratching the surface. We want to do more multiple tentpole events. And they go back to it. It's a big part of our business, but it's not all we do, but it's a core part to go forward. So that's kind of a bit of flavor around why we do tentpole events, and we're going to repeat that expertise and that experience in Lions. Also, Lions, by the way, continues to grow on the back of our activations this year. My BD team, which are brilliant, by the way, because they actually build business and close deals, quite unusual, but great, have got an inbox full of inquiries. We're actually being selective for who we work with. What a dream. And then following that North American investment, I know we announced this morning the appointment of Andre, who's joining as president in the US. I met Andre earlier year. Great chemistry, great conversation. Actually, Andre's been with us since May. Brings a huge amount of experience. And the American piece is very important to us on lots of levels. One, it's untapped in some ways for us. We've just started to go into the American market. And now I can see some questions where about, where are we investing and spending? And part of that is that when we opened up in America in COVID, pretty bold, we had a man and a desk. It was a satellite office. The last 12 months, we've moved that to be full-time staff with a president in an office in the Rockefeller Center, with the driving force to be get the American clients on American soil for American business. And that is going gangbusters. And that's going to be a massive push for us next year. Untapped. You also see from the numbers, the American piece has been very profitable so far too. I can give more color on that probably in the questions at the end. Let's touch on Eventful, a beautiful but perfectly formed small part of our business. That was our first acquisition, just as COVID happened. They were very impacted by COVID, but we managed to take some of their clients and flip them to our virtual business. Coming out of COVID, they're actually having a record year again, and probably plus pre-COVID levels, which is a delight for us as an investment. Great synergies across the business, nice specialisms, but also a different revenue stream for us, which is key for the business, which is, what we want to build up as a CEO is different revenue streams that have synergies, but also independent. They particularly specialize in high touch luxury brands as well, with Coach and Ralph Lauren, and doing kind of expensive, what I'd say, more intimate experiences, all about the F&B and the quality of the experience and the hospitality and the incentive travel side. And they're going gangbusters as well. And again, very complementary on our services across the group. But let's say, let's give some more color about, why are we creating such a lot of noise in the industry? I'm not just saying that, it gets told back to us. Several reasons. Insight and learning, okay? We run a program that my marketing team started in 2020, which we call Brand Playbook. This is when we go out and give some thought leadership about key subjects that we foresee in the next 12 months. Started in 2020, and we're rolling around the whole virtual piece and working in COVID, to today, which is our latest piece around audience insights, around talking about our generation. If you don't know, during COVID, a whole generation of youngsters became employees called Generation Z. And we went out at the beginning of this year, spoke to 400 of our clients. There's a tick box, we've got quite a few clients. 400 clients, and asked them about, do they actually split their demographics on age when they talk to the audiences? And the research that came back was actually very enlightening and quite surprising, as in they don't really think about it enough. So that led on to two things. We created a white paper, which we released, but But more importantly, we launched it in America and we launched it in the UK to our clients. We had about 50 clients that came in. On the back of that, we were asked to go in to consult and present back to Google and actually to the Wall Street Journal to say about how do we do this. This just cements our thinking. Going back to that word strategy, which is thrown around quite glibly in our industry. Strategy is about insights and intelligence and working out what is correct and what is the right thing to do to give you an impact on your business. And that's what we are doing. Backed up by, again, we are operationally carbon neutral since 2019, which we're very proud of, but this continues to be an investment piece for us to grow that and to keep going forward. We believe it's important for us to attract the right talent. But here's a snapshot. Some of our recent brands ask us first for our CSR credentials and our D&I credentials first, before our work credentials. They know you do great work, but what is your CSR policy? The world is changing, ladies and gents, that you need to be on top of that and be leading it. But more importantly, it's also a revenue stream for us because we're consulting back to our clients to say about how they can improve their carbon footprint. So it's a fee earning part of the business. It generates revenue and puts us at a very highest level in the communication piece with our clients going forward. And that continues to grow. I've touched on the fact we won awards, sleevefuls awards, but delighted to say these are all fresh out the box, but particularly proud. 6 weeks ago, we won the Grand Prix Award at the Mice Book. If you don't know, it's one of our biggest industry events. The Grand Prix Award is the agency of agencies, so it's the top award, which we won for the first time. We love that. And also Creative Team of the Year 2023 for the 5th year in a row. Unprecedented. And again, testament to, we're not just saying it, our colleagues are saying it, and our industry peers are saying it. Just to recap on our financial summary, and I'm just going to make it a bit bigger so I can actually read. So as I said on our trading update yesterday, record revenue, just circa under 20 million, profitability just under $1 million. Wait for audited results to confirm that. Strong cash position, 2.4 million sitting in the bank, last year 1.7. Dividend payment, as I said, expect to increase that going forward. Outlook, strong momentum, we're continuing that growth trend. Go back to my chart at the beginning about our growth and our revenue, and you can see where we're going. Continued integration, I've talked a lot about America. It is a key part of our business and a major investment for us, and that is paying dividends and showing fruits of success. Long may that continue. Major new client wins, including Stagwell, as I just said, who's a NASDAQ listed company and a challenger brand, and we're on that journey with them. Multiple wins. And the impact of the global pandemic, it's probably worth noting, that's in our back window now, guys. You know, we came out of, we actually thrived in COVID with our comms skills, but coming out of that, the pent-up demand and the need for that experience piece is stronger than ever now, and we're capitalizing on that in a fantastic way. Love this chart. It just shows our trajectory going forward. Obviously, 2022 was our best year ever, and then 23 we topped it again quite significantly. I think that's a testament to my team and the great clients we work with, and that will continue. Here's a synopsis. The key thing is actually we always have quite a lot of cash in the business, and I know one of the questions is we are keen to keep that cash in the business going forward, and managing that with our investment, I think, shows the quality of our management team here. So just to recap a little bit about where we are. As I said, 2023 is about attracting senior talent, which is Andre. Opened up in Amsterdam. Continue our development with our relationship with our clients. There's a huge investment piece back into our account structure and training and investment in setting up the right way to handle our clients and maintain those relationships. Eventful's back again, popular and growing. Continue return on our strategic insights, and our brand playbook is paying dividends for conversations and generating sales, and continue to develop sustainability and diversity. Next phase, as I said, is New York. Now we have really a strong independent team, but very much in synergy with us. Ongoing investments in our back end and IT and operations and finance. You can appreciate if you go from 20 staff to 70 plus, you need to invest in your team. You need to invest in your HR. You need to invest in your training and your talent. We're going to explore M&A opportunities, but with caution. Easy for me to have a checkbook and write for a merger. That's not how we roll. It's got to make perfect sense commercially. It's got to be the right value, and we're going to explore things case by case. And as those opportunities come along, which a lot do come, I have lots of conversations. But most M&As are prone to failure. We're looking at success going forward. So keep an eye on that space, and we'll continue to update if anything changes there. And okay, let's continue that growth on multi-year contracts, which is proved to be very fruitful, not least the fact you can actually plan and scale up with confidence. 2025 and beyond, expansion in our global footprint. We will look beyond North America, maybe the West Coast of America, look at additional revenue streams, and that integration piece across, other acquired businesses, going back to the M&A thing, who knows by then. But again, our core business, as you probably see, we've got enough to get on with. It's going gangbusters, and we will continue with that going forward. Just to summarize in the slide, profitable, record growth, cash positive, dividend paying, highly experienced, market leading, all winning, net zero. Any agency should be proud of that. So that's my presentation done. I will go to a smaller screen where I look for questions.
Steve, thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab, which is situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Steve takes a few moments to review those questions that have been submitted today, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Steve, as you can see, we've received a number of questions throughout today's presentation. And if I could just ask you to read out those questions and give responses where it's appropriate to do so, what I'll do is I'll pick up from you at the end.
Okay, I'm just looking through here. I shall start with, where do you expect, Gordon, I think I know Gordon. Gordon, you've got lots of questions. I may answer several of these, which seem to revolve around future forecasts, profitability, investments, margins. Okay, let's talk about profitability. It's a question, obviously, and I'm going to read the chat rooms. Obviously, we've had record growth, as in revenue, and profits are great, but probably profits may be considered like, what's the relationship between that and the revenue? Let's step back and talk about profits generally. First of all, as a benchmark, against other industry peers, as a group, we're actually above average as a profit margin in relation to revenue. So take that. And if you drill down further, down to actually the operating companies, we're above average. So there's my internal benchmark. But let's put some colour in it. We talked about investment. Let's put some more depth in that. There's certainly some one-off costs that happened last year that won't happen next year. So take comfort in that. That revolves around recruitment. That revolves around installing new back-end IT systems. We've moved to a new office. Going back to the American question, we had a little desk and a satellite office. We have a desk now an office for 14 people and invested in 8 full-time staff there. We have recruited a president there. We continue to invest around that marketing activity. There's obviously costs associated around CSR. CSR we take quite probably. These are costs that impact the bottom line. But I think we've built to a stage where we're a little bit consolidated now. We are rock solid as in robust with our back end, robust with the team we want now. We've had a rapid headcount increase. I don't see that happening forward. I think we're a nice shape and size going forward. And I think that would obviously improve our profitability stroke revenue relationship going forward. But it's about investment. And I'm playing the long game here. And I'm playing the game here about building a solid, robust business that isn't flighty to kind of one-off projects. And that takes proper sound investment going forward. So that's kind of the investment piece. The CSR piece continues to develop going forward. And that hopefully will start being paid off by actually a revenue stream coming in. So it gives you some color around that. Gordon. Gordon again, your US revenues appear to have grown explosively from a standing start. Can you provide details of how the US operations is growing in terms of headcount? Sorry, I just said. So obviously we've gone kind of like one person and a laptop to 8 full-time staff and a president. That is to really kind of drive our business going forward. The revenues as a split. I can't give you the actual numbers, but it's probably as a overall revenue number, probably around 20% of our revenues coming from our US side and contribute to our bottom line. Again, Gordon, Karen, you mentioned in an interview that you had 14 activation Karen line events last week. Are you able to quantify the percent of revenue cheerful 21st derived from the events and whether you see room for growth in the revenue stream further 24? Good question. So as I said, it's not the major part of the business. It probably equates to about 20-25% of our revenue. Absolutely, it can grow. And I go back to that tempo question where we're looking to kind of repeat that activation across other activations. Absolutely further growth for financial year 24. As I said, the inquiries we're getting from the work that's just been shown is quite phenomenal. So as I say, part of our mission to be let's say more profitable is we're actually selecting work and we've actually set a certain threshold where we actually don't do work below a number, and that's actually a first for us to make use of our resources. M&A, Alan C. Alan C. Maybe it's a lovely Alan 902. The cash varies significantly throughout the cycle of the year. What is the peak and trough of cash? So, yeah, obviously a snapshot of June was 2.4 million. I think we sometimes nudge 4 or 5 million at a stage, and we certainly never go between 1.5. That's our emotional threshold. We always like having $1 million plus in the bank. That helps. How many employees do you have globally? This is from Tom. How many employees do you have globally? How do you find recruiting and retaining experienced staff, given the complexity of what you do? Very good question, actually. So as I said, it was 65, putting nudging 70 at the moment, full-time staff. Two factors. Probably anyone employing anyone post-COVID found a very frothy market of employee costs going up and inflation being a factor around that, and actually how do you attract the best talent? And there's a bit of a land grab. I'm glad to say that's kind of calmed down now. So we're being much more rigorous and selective in our employees. But also, we are a shining, attractive agency. So we are finding it fairly easy to attract the right talent going forward. And that's something we need to nurture because, as I say, we are a people business. I have a team of people who are designers, logistics, planners, editors, creatives, account directors, but they're all people, and they need to be kind of working with an agency that they see a career here. So that continues going forward. Jonathan C. I think I know that, Jonathan. Jonathan C. Why bother with a dividend? Clear M&A is very much on the agenda. Would it not be better to keep the cash until you need it? Particularly as management have proved to be good custodians of the cash so far. We believe that we should be paying a dividend to our shareholders. We believe that's the policy. And we're confident that we do have enough cash and resource going forward. And we think that's something that makes us attractive to outside investors. So that's something we will continue to do. David S. What excites you and indeed the board most? Winning awards, building a talented team, gaining big new clients, increasing the company size, increasing profits. Well, we certainly like winning because we're not losers here. Building a talented team. Let me break it down to why do I get out of bed in the morning? I still love what I do, and I still love the people I work with. And we certainly do not like losing. So that drives us. Size, revenue, profits, do I have an ambition to be 1,000 people firm? No. Strong profits, good revenue, talented team, giant killers. We are punching way above our weight. We are pitching against agencies that have 400 or 500 staff, 20 offices globally, and we are taking work off them. I like that. I like the fact we're slightly an outlier agency. I like the fact that actually how we roll is kind of unique. People have said we're kind of like spectacularly unique in certain levels. So I think we'll keep that going. That's what excites us. And I hope the excitement goes through my firm and they feel that. I think everyone here, if you cut them and they believe cheer for 21st. Is it easy to recruit in the US and the UK? It's Jonathan C. Another good question. So, you've got to be smart to operate in the US, okay? As a British agency, do not be fooled by the fact it's easy to work in the US, okay? Part of the reason that we recruited Andre is that you have to have an American experience working with American brands and American commercials and their language. And that, we realized that 2-3 years ago, so we're built up to that. Getting the right talent mix is quite a challenge in America. It's very expensive to operate in America. Go back to an investment thing. Opening an office in America is not something to be sniffed at. But recruiting talent is something that we're looking at. The blend of we're actually sequestering some of our team are going to work over there and hiring quite well now in the US. And that's actually probably the biggest challenge in the early days was actually finding a talent. We kind of cracked that now, and we will continue to go forward with that going forward. Let me pick another question. You talked about, this is from Paul. You talked about your CSR approach. How unique are you in the industry? Well, everyone's obviously embracing CSR, but I think we are being watched and people are actually copying our policy in the CSR side. And that's something we're very proud of and actually is a differentiator in the industry. Another one from Paul. How active in the business is your chairman, Mike Hale? Great question. One, love Mike to bits. He's actually very active and actually a fantastic chairman. And I must say my board is actually very, very functional and very conversational, almost on a week-by-week basis. We have monthly board meetings. It's very structured. There's a huge amount of experience there. I'm very pleased to also just emphasize that Hannah Luffman joined as a non-exec director. She's the youngest female board member in name, by the way, so we're very proud of that. But brings another world because she's working as a commercial marketing director for another tech brand, brings that experience in. But back to the question around Mike, of course, he's an old agency guy and lives and breathes agency lifestyle, and actually is amazingly active actually in his dynamism. So it's a great support for us going forward. Another one. Does this company plan on expanding further internationally, Asia, for example? Obviously, you can see we're quite focused in America, and that will be our driving force. We will look at other territories, but probably from a delivery point of view. As an example, we're doing a massive event in Tokyo next week, another event in Singapore. So operationally, we can do that. I think we've got enough to get on with to focus on North America and Europe. There's actually probably too much work for us to deal with at this stage, so we'll focus on that. But again, that may be something under the M&A thing, where obviously if you're going to be really simplistic in criteria, do it add something to our business that we don't have? Geography is certainly one of them. Different verticals is another one. Obviously, skill sets another one. How do you anticipate paying for these acquisitions? Good question. So in an ideal world, we would try and finance it out of cash flow and maybe paper from us without trying to raise any money. We would structure a deal, and the conversation will structure a deal around a certain earn-out period that actually makes it fairly de-risks it for us going forward. That's exactly the model we did with Eventful. We did it out of the cash we had in the business, and we did it for cash and paper over a 3-year period, and that proved to be very successful. It's all about joining us and actually becoming 1 + 1 = 3. So the fact that to us, the paper on our business is probably the most exciting piece for anyone joining us. And if it's not, they're probably not the people we want to talk to, because we believe obviously the share price has plenty of headroom to double, triple, quadruple in the future. Something about forward forecasting. I think I've answered that. That's from Alan's asked about questions about investment. Can you give us more color on that? Sorry, I'm just reading this. Dave Ryan. Any more questions? Broker forecasting. From Gordon. Broker forecast. AEOREMA reminds me of a hidden gem, having demonstrated tremendous revenue growth, profitability, but without any recent broker coverage or forecast in the market. Most recent broker research was released by Allenby in 2022. Did not include any forecasts. Okay, we are working on that, and I think part of that is that we are actually engaged in a much more rigorous investor comms channel. We're working with St. Bride's, who are our PR firm. We're working with Allenby, and the plan is obviously we're going to. This is the first stage, doing an investor presentation like this, and probably do this at least every 6 months, if not quarterly. And we're going to build around our comms to give you more forward sight going forward. Eventful again. Eventful question. Gordon. Eventful. I was delighted to learn that Eventful was returned to profitability pre-pandemic. This business delivered sales of 3-4K profit and 96K. Has the business returned to pre-pandemic levels of profitability? Does the business have the ability to scale further? Yes. I think I mentioned it. This is probably the best year they've ever had this year, which is fantastic, with significant revenue and profit. Does it have ability to scale further? Absolutely. There's a part of the business which they do called incentive travel. And for those who don't know that, it is a bit like being a tour operator, but really it's about employee engagement. Going back to our synergies, it's about motivation, employee engagement, where lots of big corporates have an incentive reward scheme where they spend millions of pounds on sending their top sales team or their top performers across to other regions. That is something they can do and don't do much of yet. And that's actually one of our big revenue streams going forward. What's the time now? 11:45. Okay. Here's a good question. David S. When you delivered the trading update yesterday, did you expect more tangible increase in external interest via equity demand and the share price increasing? It seemed very muted to me. I have no power or control over that. So I go back to, we're back on our plan and we're going forward, and I think that will follow. And yes, interesting. So we'll see what happens in the market. If anyone thinks they can play the market, more for them. So anyway, so going back to what we are convicted on, and just to say, you know, an overall view, I hope you've given you some colour on about why the investment has probably had an effect on our margins. But as I say, there's some one-off costs there that won't be repeating next year. So take some information there. But it is about growth, yeah. And we have a 5-year plan to be, you know, a bigger agency with bigger clients, particularly in North America, and continue our expansion. The tentpole piece is important. Eventful is now growing. We have cash in the business to play with as well, in a sensible way. We will look at M&As. We will communicate to our investors more frequently. And I think that's probably enough for me talking now. Thank you very much.
Perfect, Steve. Thank you very much for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of AEOREMA Communications PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good morning to you all.